Welcome back to Munro Live, and today we are looking at a BMW iX. Now we're going to do an interior review, but before we do that, I did want to start at the front and talk about some of the exterior looks of this car. All right, so I would say that this is an aggressive looking vehicle. All right, well, that's kind of a buzzword. Why would you call any type of a design an aggressive design? How would you qualify that? All right, if you were to look from a side view at this vehicle, you'll see that the front end is very tall and then it is slightly leaning forward. All right, so why would I say that's aggressive? Okay, picture you're coming up to some guy in a bar, you bump into him and he just comes at you, leans forward, come at me bro, type thing. That is the look of this car. Big guy leaning forward into you, quite aggressive. So that's how I would say it's an aggressive look for a car. Now, what that does to the aerodynamics of this car, who knows? So, what are you paying for? Am I paying for an aggressive car because I like the look? Or am I paying for something that is super efficient electric vehicle? It's going to be your own personality, which would lead you to one direction or the other. Now, on that front end, there are a lot of triangles. All right, so we have the simulated grille. Now we know we don't need an actual grille on an EV, but I'm not opposed to the style of having a grille. It can be kind of a trademark. However, I don't like this one. Now the reason why I don't like this one is, basically it looks like it's a sticker. If this was a textured grille, I would want some real element, some feel, something that would give it substance rather than just a sticker. All right, so we have a bunch of triangles that blend out in their overall size. Now look at the two corners. Again, we have triangular shapes wrapping around the vehicle. But of course, what is this video about? It is about the interior. $104,000. All right. I would say that this is a very clean interior. It does look very nice in its appearance. The decorative touches that they have are somewhat minimal and they blend in. It makes it feel like it should be this way, except for those crystals, but we'll talk about those in a minute. Those triangles that we saw, they carry on through the vehicle. The IP is an artificial suede, Alcantara-like material, and the triangle fade is on the fabric up here as well. Now my question is, how do they do the fade? Either that is some sort of a screen print operation or it is laser printed. I wouldn't think it would be laser printed because I know the cycle time of doing that for all of that shape would be really, really expensive. Those triangles go into the door speakers. Same type of image as we had on the front end. And then the triangular shape, rather than just being that style, continues on the fabric. So if I were to look at the seat fabric, those central inserts, all of that stitching is decorative. The only stitching that is required for the actual formation of the seats are those bolsters. But the center sections with those triangular shapes, that is all decoration. All right, so those are our triangles. Well, what about our octagons? If you were to look in the center of the IP, you will see a part that has a bunch of octagons that also change in their overall shape and size. So the octagons from that IP tie into the texture that is on the carbon fiber that's exposed on the side rails of the vehicle. So that octagon shape in the carbon fiber, I don't know if that was done in mold or somehow done in the weave. I wouldn't think that it would be done in the weave. But they were able to tie in those shapes there. So this is for a stylist when they say, I have a theme, something that I want the vehicle to look like. Those are the elements that they would tie in from the exterior to the body structure to the interior. Quality. There are three parts to quality. You have perceived quality. Now, perceived quality is wonderful for an OEM because it is how expensive or how high of quality you, the customer, thinks of when you look at a vehicle. If they can spend a little bit of money, but yet increase their perceived quality, that's a win. That's where they're going to make profit. Now, then you have quality of materials or quality of cost. So some people think that, well, if it costs more, that must be of higher quality. Maybe, maybe not. But then you have quality of execution. That means whether it was something that was done with a very inexpensive material or something that was done with a very expensive material, how good did they actually perform in creating the part, matching their design, matching their specifications. All right, for me, I don't care about perceived quality as much. I care about quality of materials and I care about quality of execution. Even if the style of this vehicle isn't a style I would prefer, I would say that their quality of execution was really high. When you look at the individual details, everything looks correct. Everything looks finished. Everything looks the way they should for a high quality of execution. The quality of materials. All right, so that's an artificial suede, the light blue on the seats. Artificial suede can actually be really expensive. On a per yard basis, artificial suede can cost more than leather. But on an individual component basis, the leather normally costs more. That's because the artificial suede, you can have a utilization percentage of roughly 70%, whereas leather, because of all natural markings, it throws it down to 35%. So per meter buying raw material on an artificial leather, it can be higher than leather, but on the finished part, the leather ends up being higher. All right, so quality of materials is there. Now perceived quality, that's what you are going to have to determine for yourself. When I look at this, I appreciate it, but I wouldn't want to live with it. All right, let's look at some more features. So if I were to look at the instrument panel to the door panel, everything seems clean. Everything does seem minimal. Now, when we were looking at the Mercedes, there was jewelry over top of everything. And the question becomes, well, what are you paying for? Are you a person who values the jewelry or do you value the simple, clean design? Mercedes was $120,000. This is $104,000. We have the artificial suede wrapping the entire instrument panel with the printing, whether or not that is a screen print, not sure. Now, I have a fear with this light material and it's a fabric material, my IP always gets dusty. And trying to wipe an artificial suede and keep it clean might be a problem, might not be a problem. It's not like they really get dirty, it's more dust. All right, coming down, we have some, I would say that is artificial, not real metal. But that carries through the air vents here and it carries through on the edges of the door. Again, not a lot of it, just in discrete places. Now they have wood. This is the only piece of wood in the entire interior. So the question becomes, well, if you're trying to make some sort of a harmonious theme, shouldn't you have had some of this integrated in the door, maybe some integrated in the IP? It's just odd to me, but it's not objectionable. What did they do? They got rid of having a lot of the piano black and replaced some of it with the wood. I'm thankful for that because I'm kind of getting sick of piano black. But the weirdest thing is this crystal. All right, so I have a crystal knob. I have a crystal roller. I have crystal seat adjusters on the door. And then my 1-2 position for my seat. There are actually broken light. You'll see the blues, greens, and yellows coming out between them. I kind of like the center crystal and the rollers here. That's neat. But this seat adjuster on the door, I question that. It's very big in my mind. It sticks off quite far from the door. It's very noticeable. Normally on the sides of seats, you have a big toggle bank that will be that way just because you don't see those switches when you're reaching down on the side of your seat. So you have to rely on feel. On the doors, I don't have to rely on feel. These could have been much flatter and still be able to be used. As a matter of fact, this crystal here is very flat inset. So this just seems odd to me. It seems like it's sticking off needlessly. This could have been reduced, in my mind. But that's to the customer. If those few crystal features are worth whatever increase you would pay for this vehicle. The steering wheel has a flat top and bottom. Now, some people say, well, we're picture framing around our screen, so we have full visibility of our screen. Cutting off the bottom, you have the movement of your knees. All right, not opposed to that. Just like the yoke, some of these different features can be polarizing. Some people will like them, some people will not. All right, so if I'm going to move to the rear seats, it is a button to release. There is an emergency release handle hidden underneath here, so you can still have a mechanical handle to get it out. That's another feature. Some people will be appreciative of it, some people will not. Notice the door. It is a frameless door. I really like that. I like having a frameless door. The only problem with the frameless door is with this window down, the sound of closing the door feels like there's something missing. You don't get that real hard thunk. Now with the rear door up, it seems a little bit more substantial. Again, whether the window's down, window's up, doesn't really matter. All right, let's look at the back. So we said $104,000. This is on a luxury vehicle. This is a BMW. There is plenty of room in the rear seat. However, look at this seat. It is very flat. There's not a lot of textured support. There's not a lot of bolstering on the sides. This almost seems like you're getting into a park bench. I don't know if that is the right decision to make. Now getting in, there are air vents underneath the front seat that come out to the rear occupant. You can see those air vents here. On the one hand, I like the amount of airflow that comes out of those air vents. On the other, look at where my feet are. Basically, that air vent is going to become a catch for all of the dirt, all of the mud, all of the rocks, all of the snow melt that is coming off of my feet when I get into this vehicle. Basically, that turns into a shoe brush. The rear seat AC control panel, your rear seat entertainment with your USB ports, it's all piano black. You do have your own climate control, which is really nice to have that type of climate control. But it just seems less, is what I would say. Yes, it is kind of a minimalist design. It's supposed to be a sleek, clean design, but it's not just the design. It's kind of like my comfort is missing as well. And my comfort feature should not be missing with a minimalist design. Let's go back to this front seat and let's talk about the rear. We have a back panel that is inset into this foam. But the back panel actually sits proud of the foam. Normally you would want some sort of a bite into STO, because look at this. I can easily reach forward and squish this foam, and look how much it opens it up from the back panel. I mean, I'm not really applying a lot of force, but I mean, I shouldn't be able to get my entire fingers and hand behind that back panel. So I wish this were to bite into that foam more, but the worst spot is on the front. These are fixed headrests, so you have no possibility of adjustment per body size. In that fixed headrest, they have this decorative trim panel. But look at that panel. It sits proud of the headrest. I had asked some of the shorter people here at Munro to go ahead and sit in these seats and adjust them until the back of their head hits that metal portion or decorated plastic portion. And those that did, once it hit them, they said, that is very uncomfortable. Now I was thinking that that was going to be a problem for the shorter people, but for me, it became a problem as well. That hits directly between my shoulder blades, right on that chunk of metal. And I hit it a couple of times and it is not comfortable at all. So I'm very surprised that they would have a feature like that that is sitting proud of the headrest. So on some of our videos, and some we do not, we talk about the rear compartment. All right, nice big rear compartment. Secondary storage bin. It's quite deep. I like that. You still have that exposed carbon fiber. I'm assuming these lights are just supposed to be task lights to give you illumination while you're working back here. But this parcel shelf. Normally these are basically just screens, something that is going to hide the materials that you have in your cargo bin, or something that's going to provide protection from the sun coming down from the window. This is an actual hard panel. In this case, for this panel, I could technically see someone saying, well, I can use this as a shelf. I can actually put things here. All right, yes, you could, but not this panel. This panel is basically only a sunshade. That's the only thing that it's doing. It is removable. Why does this need to be a rigid board when it cannot be used for any type of storage, any type of load? It is truly there just for a sunshade. Maybe having a rigid panel makes some people think that it's more substantial. And if I paid $104,000, whether it's functional or not, I want it to be substantial. Okay, but this just seems excessive to me, unnecessary to me. So for this center console, there are cup holders, but look at their position. If I'm actually going to use this, I'm reaching my hand underneath this protruding wing, grabbing whatever it is I'm trying to drink, lifting it up and forward to get it out. Now, I don't assume that too many people are driving this drinking a big gulp, a big 40-ounce drink or whatnot, but it does seem like they've kind of put that cup holder in an awkward position. Hard to access, probably more likely to get spills trying to remove it. Now, coming through the rest of this, we have the artificial suede wrapped top of the center console, button release, but it's very clean inside. It is fabric lined at the bottom, but notice the wrapping. Notice the stitching on the corners. They're able, because this is an artificial material, not a vinyl or not a leather, they're able to keep nice tight corners in those join seams. Normally, whenever you have a leather or you have a vinyl, you have a lot of bulk, and you would have to bring this plastic out a little bit farther to try and hide it, or just accept inconsistencies in the corners. They're able to keep this very nice because of the fabric material that they have used. All right, so some designer really wanted to carry his theme through the vehicle. Not only do we see those triangles on the front end, on the speakers, on the IP, but we're seeing them here in the light design to illuminate for the occupant entrance. So, at $104,000, what are you paying for? You are paying for a simple design. Now, it is elegant, but a clean look. I was giving an example a while to a studio designer who was wanting to put frills and decoration on everything. And I said, consider a Louis Vuitton bag or some premium brand. It's minimalist and it's clean. I would say this is that. It is minimalist and clean. But for comfort, I mean, the seating is uncomfortable. There are some things that are just awkward to use. So I think you're sacrificing some of that. You're sacrificing usability and you're sacrificing comfort. You're getting a clean design. At $104,000, Are you buying the BMW name? Are you buying the level of vehicle? Or is the value actually in the technology that is being presented to you? Well, that's for you to determine. Again, that perceived quality. However you are imagining this in your head, however you are placing value to these individual features, a buyer would be the one to determine whether this vehicle is a good value for them or not. So in the end, for the BMW iX, I do like the look, but once I dive past the look, I start to question some of the other options, some of the other features. But to you, thank you for watching Munro Live, and go ahead and subscribe if you are not, and stay tuned for some of our future episodes. Have a good day.